So hello everyone, for whoever hasn't met me already, I'm Amy Willocks and I'm a consulting psychologist at Capp. For those of you who haven't heard of Capp, we are the strengths experts, and I say that with absolute conviction, Kirsty, because we absolutely are. We've got a massive client portfolio, and we really, in terms of innovation, I guess it's doing things differently. You know, competencies have been around for donkey's ages now, so really strengths is the movement that's moving forward, and it's really having an impact on the market out there. So I'm really excited to share some sort of client examples with you today. I'm sort of Capp's retail contingent. Most of my clients that I have the virtue of being given are retail, so I've got sort of Lidl, Stonegate Pub Company, Domestic and General, and other people like that. So as we go through, I've got some slides, but if you've got any questions or you've got any thoughts or anything like that that you want to share, or any challenges that you want to share and have that bit of discussion, then please do feel free to do so. Okay. So in terms of our clients, essentially where it all began with Capp was with Aviva and sort of more professional services sector clients like Ernst & Young, and then Nestle was one of our first FMCG clients, and then it's really just expanded from there since. So we've got across different sectors, across different roles, from experienced hire through to early talent, apprentices, graduates, volume hire roles, so Domestic and General, that's all about getting people into the business who can hit the ground running in their contact centres and sell or please customers and things like that. So there really is sort of a broad sector and broad variety.
Is there a golden thread that threads through all of your clients? Is there some common factor?
I think it's wanting to do things differently, actually thinking, you know, we've got, you know, we can recruit people that can do things, but actually we want that potential. We want these individuals that are going to come into the business and just be motivated, be passionate, and really just flourish as well in the business. So that's really what I would say. Is if you literally put it down to the foundations, that is essentially what it was.
Splendid.
So in terms of the typical challenges in the retail and service sector, these are some of the reasons why some of my clients work with us. So in top one there, volumes. So it's volume hire. You've got lots and lots of applications that you need to sift through. You might be blessed with you know, fantastic brands like Mulberry or Nando's, and you've got people that are knocking the doors down. When you've got that many people, how do you actually sift that down to the people that are quality, the people that are going to actually flourish in the business and can just hit the ground running, so to speak? Culture fit. So what is your culture? So for example, if you think about Lidl, it's a fast moving business. These guys not only need to be fantastic area managers or store managers, but they really need to be able to be dynamic, move with the business. If the business says, look, we're opening up a regional distribution centre in Scotland, like they have, you need to move from London all the way up to Scotland. We need those people who've got that passion and really you know, are ready to do that. The diversity of applicants as well, and this was one of the biggest drivers for Domestic and General. For anyone who doesn't know Domestic and General, if you've got a fridge or an oven and you need to register your warranty, if you've got a Sky, they're the people that you ring. So they're loads of different brands, but essentially they've got two massive contact centres, one in Brighton and one in Nottingham, and they sort of do the contact centre agent piece for them. So their diversity of applicants for those was really they get the applicants who come and they want to save to go travelling because it's quite a good job, it's commission based, but they want those people as well who might not have thought about contact centre agent roles, because you know, in the media and things like that, it's probably not the most attractive of roles. But how do we open that out to the different diverse applicants who have the strengths to sell, have the strengths to deliver fantastic customer service on the phone when someone's shouting at you that your washing machine's broken and you've got 6 kids? You know, how do they deliver that? What are the strengths that they can really put in place to do that and attract people in? Assessor engagement, so that's really sort of a big one. You know, you've got so much volumes that you've got to get through. The assessors need to be engaged in the process. It needs to be fun, it needs to be exciting. You know, it gets boring after a while. You know, all those people that say that they've helped a little old lady onto the bus to showcase, you know, sort of service and caring, things like that. Actually getting under the skin of what that person's about, you know, yes, what are they capable at, but also where are their energies lie. And with strengths, I think you can be quite exciting, quite interesting with the ways that you can put assessments in there and really assess those individuals. Time pressure. So, you know, we've got a role that needs to be filled next week. We need to get these people in. We need to understand what they're all about, and we need to get them on the role. Competition for talent. So, particularly with Stonegate Pub Company, this is one of their major drivers because they've got things like Sug and Lettuce, Yates's and things like that. They're competing with Wetherspoons, Mitchells and Butlers. You know, we really need to get the best talent that's out there and keep them as well. So if we recruit them through their strengths and develop them through their strengths, they're much, much more likely to stay with the business, and that's what we've been finding. So in terms of some of the drivers, I've mentioned a few of those, sort of process cost savings, get that early sifting in place, assessing people through sort of strengths assessments early on, online, getting that initial tap whether they're right for the culture of the business, they've got that motivation and energy that aligns with the strengths of the business. No adverse impact as well. Diversity is a really big thing, so thinking about, you know, actually looking at people and their behaviours and their strengths almost levels the playing field. So whether that's from a gender perspective, an ethnicity perspective, or social mobility, and those people from socially deprived backgrounds, it does just level that playing field because you're not taking into context, you know, sort of arbitrary screening criteria like UCAS points, A-level grades, what university they went to. You're sort of looking at who that individual is and really understanding that person and understanding their fit with the business. Oh, typical results. So there's some of the typical results then. Video interviews, favourite one there, I quote that quite a lot in a lot of meetings. £41,000 we saved for one of our clients on that. Cost per hire reduced, customer satisfaction and everything. Really just having that impact on the business there.
Because it's very, very tangible, that's the point, isn't it?
Yeah. No, sorry, I'm getting a bit distracted, someone's trying to tell me what the time is. So yeah, so positive candidate perceptions on the business and everything, the view of the client's brands in terms of the competitors and everything. So there's some sort of diversity stats that we've got, 50-50 gender split for Microsoft. What I was telling you before, Andrew, about the increase of roles in Nestle, female grads into the technical areas was increased from 22% up to 70%, which is quite interesting. So in terms of what a strength is then, we've got the performance component. So essentially you are getting that capability, that level of competence coming through from that individual, but we're getting that level above as well, so that energy coming through, how much do they enjoy using that strength as well. And the use component as well. So if you are doing something that you love to do, you enjoy to do, you're going to use it in your personal life, you're going to use it in your professional life as well. So you're getting those real rich examples from the individuals that you've got coming to you. Just moving forward to the differences between competencies and strengths, I'll just quickly run through this slide. In terms of strengths, you're going to get their motivations, their energy, so you're able to see where their weaknesses are, where their competencies are, and also where their strengths are. Whereas with competency recruitment, you're just getting that level of competence. You're not really able to do much else with the outcome of that interview, the outcome of that assessment, rather than that. With competency interviews as well, particularly, you're going to get that flat line of ability from individuals. So they're able to demonstrate, essentially, if they prepare enough in advance, that they can be competent at all your competencies. But with strengths, you're really getting those natural peaks and troughs in that individual. So you get to understand what their profile's like, so where they've got that real energy, where they've got that competence, and where they may be that a bit weaker. So in terms of the whole piece, so strengths really comes in from attraction through to that sifting, like I said. The strengths-based interview, then the assessment centre, and then feeding it through into onboarding. So we've recruited these people through strengths. How do we keep them? How do we develop them? And how do we really make sure that they're engaged and they've got that energy coming through? In terms of where we get the strengths from, this is what we call our success analysis model. So it's really about understanding how do we future-proof the strengths? What are the strengths that we need to really drive the business forward for the future? And then also, what's the high performers? What do they say are the success strengths that they really need? You know, what are the role profiles, competency frameworks that you've got? Putting that all together and understanding, what are the strengths of that particular business, the core strengths that everyone in the business needs, and those differential strengths that really differentiate the areas. I think a really good example as well is, you could think of customer service strength, but across all of my clients it's completely different. So Woolworths Liquor, who are sort of like an Australian, deliver sort of wine and things like that over in Australia. It's all about telling the brand to the customer, telling the story, telling where the wines come from. Whereas with Lidl, it's about, how easy can you get to the milk without tripping over a basket and, buying other things that are on your shopping list like a lawnmower on the way. So in terms of strengths-based interviewing, these are the sort of types of golden rules that we really sort of key into. So in terms of the question styles, they're really different. The strengths-based interview feels like a conversation essentially. So the candidate feels like they're really giving that accurate picture of themselves. They can be hypothetical, they can be closed, open, past behavioural, future behavioural, really different types of questions. There's no probing. No probing. So as an assessor, you don't have to lead that person down the garden path and really get them to a place. You just need to accept their answer, score them on the strengths methodology, and just really sign them off on that essentially. There's no interpretation of the questions, so no inconsistency given from different assessors and things like that. It's quite rapid fire, so typically you'd have probably about 10 to 15 questions in a strengths-based interview, whereas in a competency one you maybe have 3 or 4. So it does feel like that, a conversation from that perspective. Less well-rehearsed past examples, you're getting that immediate reaction. And it's not relying on that past work experience, so it's absolutely fantastic for those people that are sort of entry-level talent, but equally for those experienced hires who have got that capability, they've got that competence. They might be bored at analysing financial documents, but they can do it. But where is that? Where is that energy line for them? Is that in enabling the leadership, in driving that success of the business forward? So you're getting that profile of that individual. Does anyone have any questions on that?
Sorry, just a quick question. So with the strengths, is there a set number of, or a prescribed list of strengths that you evaluate, or is it done on a role-by-role basis?
So essentially what we've got a library of about 220 or so strengths now. So what we do is we understand, have those focus groups, stakeholder interviews, to really understand what the core strengths are of the business. So those strengths that, everyone in the business just needs to have. So for Lidl, it's that growth, that agility, that dynamicism. But then also having a look at it on a differential level. So typically they'll be, quite similar to strengths we designed before. But what we really do is make sure that we get it really specific to that organisation and specific to, what does customer service mean to you, for example.
So typical number of questions in a strengths interview?
So typical number in a video interview, I'd probably say there's probably 6 to 10. But in a sort of assessment centre interview, typically about 12, 15.
But because they're very fast, quick fire, then actually it can be quite a pacey interview.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Rather than the wafting sort of tell me about a time
when... And Amy, is it, are you looking at levels of energy and passion that come out when people are responding to the question as something that underpins the degree to which it could be a strength?
Yeah, so you'll see in the listen for, as we call them, which is essentially the scoring guide that you've got there, the 0, 1, 3 and 5 that you've got listed. What we do is in the assessor training, we make sure we give them the tools to understand, what levels of energy, what levels of engagement look like in individuals, what the passionate language is, and then what we do is we make sure that listen fors have got that capture of energy in there. So they know what to look for.
So how do you account for different personality types then? So
somebody's
absolutely. Just a kind of a low reactor and inside they could be really excited, but externally they look more rigid.
Absolutely.
How do you account for that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the assessor training will give you sort of the training to go through the methods and have a go at doing the interviews and everything. But what we have is a warm-up question at the start of every single strengths-based interview, which essentially is, tell me about some everyday activities that you enjoy, and it's about looking at that candidate, focusing on that candidate on a candidate-by-candidate basis, and understanding what they do when they're energised. So if it is someone who is quite introverted or quite quiet, they might lean forward, their tone of voice might go up, so that as you get the questions afterwards, you're able to say, absolutely, that's that for that person.
Kind of get a baseline with the first question. And
sort of subtlety rather than...
Absolutely.
It's also what they respond with, so it's the content of what they say that makes such a big difference. You're listening to those examples of how they would respond and using energy as an additional indicator to see actually how motivated and passionate they are. So we're not just looking for somebody that throws their hands in the air and gets super excited. It's fundamentally about the quality of what they perform, but in addition to that, it's some of the pieces that Amy showed.
Absolutely.
Gabriel, you were saying that jazz hands don't matter. I thought that's what got us a job, right?
Absolutely. 9 times out of 10 they'll say, oh yeah, I did this morning, or I did that last night, when they give an example.
Recency as well.
It's recency and that use piece that Amy mentions, that critical.
And you use this face-to-face as well?
Yeah.
Because I feel really anxious that you don't do probing questions. It's a bit like...
I know, Absolutely. I would say that, 9 times out of 10 in the assessor training, that's one of the things that they're a bit anxious of, a bit nervous of, and how is this going to go in practice. But what we do is we actually do a strengths-based interview in the assessor training, and they see how actually when we do a calibration on the scores, everyone's got 5s for that candidate, everyone's got 0s for that candidate. I'd say that there's probably about 80 to 90% calibration in the scoring for strengths compared to competencies, which is typically around the 50% mark. So it does make the system more consistent and more rigorous.
I was going to ask about the training rollout actually. What sort of support do you provide then?
It's different in different client situations. So if you are, have a team and you want to have a trainer session and deliver that to the business and get that engagement and buy-in yourselves, or if you wanted to record WebExes and put those on your intranet, we can do those. Lots of different ways, videos, manuals and things like that.
And so the second question I had is actually around how would you sort of adjust this process for looking at non-volume recruitment? Because obviously we're focusing around volume here.
Absolutely. I think it literally works for lots of different ones. Like for example, National Hitman, they're a construction company, and we did this sort of success analysis and strengths implementation of assessments for their succession planning. So those people that were going to go into experienced higher recruitment positions, and it works in exactly the same way. If you've got volumes coming in, but maybe you need to hire 4 people, you could put a sifting test in there, and then the strengths-based interview to understand those individuals before then you get to the assessment centre, so you've got the absolute highest quality that you can assure an assessment centre coming through.
I think for senior hires as well, I found it particularly useful because as you become more mature in your role, you're better at articulating the theory. So adding to that the real evidence that it's something you're doing regularly. I can craft a very beautiful interview.
Amy, thank you so much.
So